Hello everyone and welcome to another Pokemon Pocket video. Today we're going to be doing a tier list of all of the expansions in the game right now. We do have, maybe some big things coming in the next month or so with the year's anniversary of Pokemon Pocket. So this is a little bit sort of like a year in review, and we can see what we thought of the expansions. We already talk about the expansions overall, as well as looking at some of the highlight cards from there as well. So let's get going. We are going to be looking at Genetic Apex. Obviously, the launch of the game, there were 3 packs you could open with Mewtwo, Pikachu, and Charizard as like their focus, and the meta was, I think, some people would say not varied, some people would say quite varied, and we'll take a look why. So here we can take a look at Genetic Apex. We'll remember most of those, of course, if you were playing from the beginning, and there are still some cards that are still very much in focus right now. But this, I say expansion, not really an expansion, but the launch set, I guess. And this was really, really good. This obviously was one of the high points of the game. It had just come out, and with 226 cards, yes, I'm still missing one. I need to trade for a Lapras. With so many cards and so many new cards to check out, it was a lot of fun, and there were some highlights, right? Like if we look just overall, a lot of these were played. Now, of course, there were a lot that weren't, but the likes of Venusaur, Executor, we can see there, even Victory Bell saw play. Obviously, we had the Charizards and the Moltres, of course, even Arcanine as well. You go down here, the Blastoise, I'm throwing out Golducks, it counts. Starmie, of course, was a huge factor. Articuno was maybe infamously a huge factor in the game. And Greninja, arguably, unfortunately, still is. Pikachu, of course, one of the key ones, Zapdos in there. There was just a lot of very playable cards, and even cards that weren't top tier, people were still playing. The likes of Marowak, when we see here. We can see, some people were playing with Gengar, Alakazam. You see some of the fighting stuff. I made Golem work pretty well. Even Arbok Weezing was in there. Okay, we won't really talk about Steel too much, but Dragonite saw play, Pidgeot. There was a lot of neutrals as well, with Kangaskhan and Farfetch probably being the key ones. There was a lot of very playable cards, and of course the key supporters that we still play now. So for me, the biggest thing here is just the volume of cards that were playable and good enough to sort of compete. There was no ranked, of course, but for me, Genetic Apex was the tippity top of the game, or at least maybe that's a bit of nostalgia. It's all obviously going to come into it, but just so many options, so many ways to build decks. It was really, really fun. So we are going to be putting Genetic Apex, for me, right in S tier. It was so many playable cards. I think it just has to be there 100%. And next up we have Mythical Island, the first, true, I know this says expansion tier list, but the first true expansion to the game. I just wanted to include Genetic Apex because why not? And this was a pretty big deal, right? It was the first expansion. We were waiting a little bit for this one, and it had some pretty key cards. Taking a look at Mythical Island, of course, the Executor was played to an extent, but Celebi and Serperior were highlighted quite a lot with a lot of play. Fire suffered. We had Gyarados, which was huge. Like the Magikarp Gyarados combo was played for a long time, along with Vaporeon in a few decks as well. Electric was there was a bit of Dedenne, a tiny sprinkling of Galvantula, but not really. Mew, though, was super fun and kind of interesting card to play. Quite weak, but had some big highlight hits. And the ability to counter certain matchups was pretty fun. Beheeyem was played as well. And then we look at fighting, of course, we had the Aerodactyl, the Marshadow, which had quite maybe not an impact during that expansion, but definitely in the near future after that. Dark didn't really see much, even though Scolipede was fun. And then we had, of course, the dreaded Druddigon, which still haunts me to this day. So obviously a small expansion, right? It's like a mini set, so to speak, but we had some pretty impactful cards. You throw in like Leaf in there as well was a pretty, and still is, a very big deal. So I think overall this expansion was good. I think my favorite thing out of this, quite small expansion was probably Gyarados. I think Gyarados was really strong, but never broken, at least as far as I maybe recall, or I think. So I think Gyarados was pretty good. So For the first go, and obviously the excitement of Mythical Island, I think it was pretty solid, even though people maybe did get a little bit sick of the strength of the likes of like Executor Celebi, not this one, the other Executor and Celebi, being, you know, a bit of a coin flippy style, even though a lot of the time they were flipping a lot of coins, which makes it very likely. So yeah, pretty good expansion overall for me. So I think I'll put Mythical Island on B tier because there weren't tons of great cards added, but the ones that were added were pretty explosive, right? As I said, Celebi, Superior, Gyarados. They had a high impact, and Leaf, of course, as well. So I think that sits in B for me. I've not preemptively thought about this, by the way. I'm literally just deciding this as I go. So there's no like preconceived, apart from maybe Genetic Apex being an S tier. I've not even thought about everything else. So let's move on to the next one. It was Spacetime Smackdown. Now, Spacetime Smackdown was a larger expansion. We see the 155 cards here. Unfortunately, although, yeah, I guess Shaman got played, right, quite a lot at the time. But unfortunately for Grass, Shaman was the only one that was doing anything. Infernape got played as well, but once again, Fire kind of got done dirty. And Water got about 8,000 cards. However, Water only really got a couple of cards that really saw a lot of play. Those, of course, though, being massive impact in the form of Palkia EX and Manaphy. Manaphy, one of maybe my most favorite card of Pokemon Pocket ever. I felt like it was strong but balanced, especially in the game at the time there, as you were basically sacrificing a point to ramp energy. However, unlike the current babies, you had to spend an energy to ramp, and you needed two Pokemon on the board, on the bench, sorry, to be able to really benefit from that. So I thought the trade-offs are really good. Next up, more massively high impact cards. Magnezone dominated and still is in the meta right now. Super high impact. I personally like this Electrode a lot. I love Electivire. Luxray still sees play now and has seen play on and off. Nothing in like the best decks in the game, let's say, but good enough to be warranted. Pachirisu also had its time. Togekiss still comes into play now and again. Mismagius, not quite good enough, but playable, which is important. And then scrolling down across to the fighting types. This expansion was huge, wasn't it? Rampardos was added to the game, as well as Lucario, as well as Gallade. So fighting, I think from this point, really opened up with the addition of these cards, and those like fighting box decks really started to kick off. Dark got Weavile, and of course, Darkrai, one of the most consistently powerful cards the game has ever seen, which is huge impact. And personal favorites, Toxicroak for me, and Honchkrow. Little personal favorites there, but I enjoyed those a lot. Steel finally got some cards, which is nice. Dialga also dominated the meta along with Arceus, which we'll talk about in a minute. Bastiodon, Skarmory was in there as well. All huge cards. A lot of people played this Garchomp too in the Dragon type. Normals, I can't even recall. I don't think Normals really got anything super relevant for me before people shout at me, yes, Bidoof. But we also got the likes of Pokemon Communications. We got Tools with Cape and Rocky Helmet, which, again, are just super strong cards even now. Cyrus, one of the most, like, a card I felt then was fair, and now is just busted, right? Because the higher the power level in the game gets, the easier it is for Cyrus to be stronger. And, of course, Mars, Dawn, super high impact cards. So this, again, this tier list is a mixture of my thoughts, my enjoyment of the meta, and also how impactful it was. But again, a ton of playable cards spread across most types, let's say. Yeah, Mega got played, guys. I guess that counts. So I think this is really a really good set. Maybe a touch like too powerful at times, but still really strong. So for me, I think, again, with just how much was playable and the decks that were made up, I think I'm going to put Spacetime Smackdown up on top as well. I think those cards, there was still, yes, there was like Misty, Palkia EX and so on, but I just think the addition of the cards across so many types that were good felt really, really good for me. So you know what? Maybe I'm being too generous, we'll see, but I'm going to put that in S tier as well. I think the collection of cards is so good. Next up, we have Triumphant Light. Now, Triumphant Light was a much smaller set, of course, versus the previous one, with just 75 cards. However, had some very high impact cards itself. Carnivine and Leafeon, really big deals for grass. We'll skip fire again. This was the dark times for fire. Water also didn't get anything too crazy, honestly. Like Glaceon, God, I wish Glaceon was good enough. I liked a Bomber Snow, but no one else played it. And then, of course, we had Origin Form Palkia that, yes, ended up being in the Gyarados deck, which was strong. Electric, let's move on. Psychic, Rotom was played, but let's move on. Fighting, though, got Sudowoodo, which was, again, super high impact, a way to try and beat up those EX Pokemon. Got Garchomp, still played now, right? Like, still played as a really powerful card, especially when Rare Candy comes into the game a little bit, you know, in the future for this expansion. Crobat was played for sure, which was really nice. And when I said my Toxicroak shout out earlier, I meant this one, not the previous one. I got confused. But Crobat being huge. Steel Pass. We did get Snorlax and Barry in this for normal, which was good. Shaman was played a lot as well. We have then, of course, got Arceus EX, another card that still sees play now. So even though the power level of the game has gone up, there's still some very hard hitters from some pretty early sets. Irida in there as well, just as a quick shout out. So this set, small but powerful, with some, again, there's some, like, you know, water and fire got nothing, electric got nothing, but the types that got something got some really good stuff, like really game impacting stuff. So I think for me, I think Triumphant Light is going to slide into A. I don't think it was quite as cool as Spacetime Smackdown and Genetic Apex, but very good though, definitely good. Next up, we've got Shining Revelry. Shining Revelry was, of course, another smaller set around the same cards as the previous one. We did, though, get some high impact cards once again. We got Beedrill EX, which saw a good chunk of play. Meowscarada was like meta dominant for a very, very long time. Stoke Charizard, before its time, it was too early to the party. Terrible in this format at the time, but as we well know, very powerful with Rare Candy, annoyingly so in the future. But for now, not too strong. And then we got Wugtrio, which, you know, a lot of people did play, a bit of a meme card, but pretty good. Pikachu again, not powerful then, very powerful now with the amount of electric sort of energy maneuvering we've got, which is very strong as well. And then we got Giratina, the dreaded duo partner of Darkrai, and has been since Giratina came out. This was a card, I'm going to hold my hands up, I'm happy to say. I thought Giratina was going to be quite good, when a lot of people, when we saw these EX reveals, were kind of dumpstering on the whole set, saying the set wasn't very strong. Maybe that's true, but they didn't think Giratina was going to be. Whereas I just saw turn 1, press button, gain energy in this game, and felt very powerful. And hey ho, it's very powerful and still is today. So Giratina, super strong, of course. Fighting, got nothing. Dark, I think more or less got nothing, let's be honest. Tinkaton is fun, but not good enough. Wigglytuff did see some play. Iono sees play. To be fair, these supporters were quite good. Iono, Pokemon Center Lady, Red, and Team Rocket Grunt all see play, right? Some more than others, of course, but especially at different times. All pretty high impact there. So, and of course, we've got Shinies. So, for me, again, not like the strongest set in the world, but I think by just the supporters, Meowscarada and Giratina especially, pretty impactful and continues to be very impactful to this day. So I think for me, this is tough because Darkrai Giratina was made in this set, right? And my biggest issue with the dominance of Darkrai Giratina at the time was there was no way to deal with tools. This is before we had Guzma, right? So no real way. I know, like, what, Starly had a way, but it wasn't good enough. So the problem was they'd put Rocky Helmet on a Darkrai up front or a Giratina, and you'd be doing 40 damage a turn, and other Pokemon couldn't even keep up. So I am going to put Shining Revelry in A because it's just the supporters combined with some of the EXs are high impact. But even though you could argue that Giratina is one of the best cards in the game, it's not just about power level, it's about feeling and about the expansion. So, you know, No, because of the supporters, because I love red as well, we needed something to help versus EXs. I'll keep it in A. It could have been B. It could have been B for sure. So let's go to Celestial Guardians next. Now, Celestial Guardians was another large set, 155 cards. Looking at this here, of course, we have Alolan Executor, which has and now kind of does again get played. Decidueye saw a good amount of play. Other than that, I had high hopes for Golispod, but it wasn't enough. Serena kind of saw play as well, but nothing too impactful. And Delmise was a crime against humanity, let's be honest. Going up for fire, Incineroar became a real terror, as well as Turtonator having a pretty good run as well in some decks. Water, if I recall, this was the set where Water got a lot of cards that did nothing. Yes, people played Crabominable. Primarina kind of gets played now, weirdly enough. Pyukumuku's decent. But really, a lot of these cards felt very unplayable, and this felt like the beginning of Water getting dumpstered a little bit. The excuse is that it's because Misty was too strong. I don't really believe that as an excuse. I just think Water got toned down because it got a lot of stuff previously. Electric didn't get much, but it got one of the highest impact cards we've seen in the game, and decks focus around this card a lot, which is Oricorio. The only Pokemon with Safeguard. I kind of wish we had more from different types, but hey ho. Oricorio, mega impact into the game to basically put a stop to EXs. Psychic got some really cool cards. Some of my favorite Psychic cards, honestly. Banette, this Oricorio's cool. Mimikyu, loved it. I played Mimikyu Palisand with Acerola that's in the set as well. I believe. We'll see. So Psychic got some cool cards. Tapu Lele as well was dominant in the meta at a time. Fighting did get the Lycanroc, which got played a lot, but that's about it. But again, with Fighting, a new card, you just put it with Rampados and it's fine. Dark got a whole lot of nothing. I wish Raticate was a little bit better. It wasn't. But then Steel got the dreaded Solgaleo, which one of my most hated cards of all set. Of all the game. Very fast, not much punish, very high damage. And it really did dominate part of the meta in a very unfun way, for me at least. Obviously, this is all opinion and personal preference. We did get Kamala as well, but this was the dreaded set. This set had so many nice cards. Acerola in there as well. Guzma, we got the way to deal with tools. We got Lily to help out with stage 2s. Kiowa seen play. Mallow seen play. Ilma, Leaf Cape, Poison Barb. So many great cards. And then they went and ruined it and added Rare Candy. And don't think I'll ever forgive them for this, because Rare Candy, I think, is the single card I wish was never in the game. But we have it. So, high impact expansion. However, purely down to Rare Candy, Celestial Guardians is not it for me. Which means I'm going to put Celestial Guardians in D. Which, is this too harsh? I really hate Rare Candy. No, it's staying in D. It is what it is, okay? I really think Rare Candy, anyone who knows me will know my thoughts on this. I think Rare Candy had a really negative impact on at least my enjoyment of the game. But anyway, it's fine. We'll recover. So next set is going to be Extradimensional Crisis, if I can get my words out. Okay, so Extradimensional Crisis, 69 cards, relatively small set. I think one of the smallest. However, very high impact. We got the Ultra Beasts in this set. So already, I mean, this Decidueye was played. Buzzswole, Pheromosa, Kartana. That was a deck. We won't talk... Well, to be fair, Fire got one card, but Blacephalon was played. We won't talk about Water. Electric, Luxray, playable. And then Tapu Koko, not really played much at the time, but popular, very popular now. So, and a decent card, not bad. Zeraora, mega high impact. Shinotic got played a lot, unfortunately, with Solgaleo, which, whatever. And then Fighting got Claydol, which I think is a really cool card, but it's just too much space on the board, not good enough if you need to use it, which is a shame. And then Dark, of course, got Nihilego, Guzzlord, Narganandel. Very, very strong set for Dark. Steel didn't really get anything. And then we got Stoutland, of course, and the dreaded null Silvally Celesteela. Not together. Silvally, not my favorite card. However, Celesteela, whilst powerful, I think was fine. And then, of course, we kind of got that support around this. And Repel, funnily enough, and Electrical Cord, very powerful cards. Unfortunately, though, maybe it's a good thing, but these two sort of Ultra Beast cards did not really work. So overall, a set that, with such few cards, did super well in terms of impact. However, Silvally's another Pokemon or card on my list of cards I really dislike. So the set was good. The set was high impact. It was good, especially considering the size. So I think for me, Extradimensional Crisis will go into... Oh, it does have Silvally. I'm going to put it in C tier because although I think it was good, I think Silvally is atrocious in that by itself, it pushed out any Pokemon that didn't have more than 100 HP, realistically. And even a lot of EXs that have low, like less than, you know, like a low amount of HP as well. So yeah, I'm going to put it in C. I think it was fine, but just it wasn't great for me at least. Next up, we have Eevee Grove. Okay, so Eevee Grove was another 69 card set. Grass didn't really get anything, but Fire did get Flareon, and I love Flareon. I love the design. I think more Fire cards should sort of do this way of cycling mana. I think it's pretty cool. Water got Primarina, I guess, but whatever. Electric, I faced this Galvantula more in the last week than I have since beforehand. Psychic got some really cool cards. I think the normal Espeon and the normal Sylveon are really cool and interesting cards. Sylveon EX, though, kind of broke the game, didn't it? It took over the whole expansion. It took over the whole game with how strong it is and how much it warped card draw and just the way the game's played out. Basically, players just getting through the whole deck, more or less, on turn 3 or 4, if that. So it really changed the game, and it warped the game a bit too much and pushed everything else out. Like, a lot of these cards weren't good enough anyway. I do like Snorlax EX. I think that's cool. I like the tools. Eevee Bag's a fun card as well. But I think purely for the horrendous impact Sylveon had to the game, it should have been draw 1 at maximum, right? I think this was the first set where I felt that the set was bad. Right, not just Rare Candy aside, right? I think overall that set with Rare Candy in it was decent. It's just Rare Candy annoys me. But Sylveon, I feel like really warped the meta in a way that I didn't enjoy, because it was just, if you don't play Sylveon in your deck, you're wasting time, basically, and decks will just draw faster and win faster. So it just warped the game in a way I didn't really like. So for me, the Eevee Grove expansion was not it. Which means that Eevee Grove, for me, is also dropping to a D, which is a shame because an Evolution expansion should be the best, right? Everyone loves Evolution one way or another. Next up, though, we're getting near to the end. Next up, we have Wisdom of Sea and Sky. Okay, so we have a larger set. Ignore my missing Blossom there. Don't worry about it. And this set was pretty good, I think. Looking at the grass cards, Grass didn't really get anything. I think Grass is in a weird spot, honestly, to an extent. We'll get to it in a minute. But Shuckle isn't bad, right? It was way better than it looked, to me at least. I mean, maybe I rated Shuckle too high. But Grass didn't really get much this set. However, Fire got Ho-Oh, which was really cool. Or I guess like everyone kind of got Ho-Oh. And also got Magby. This was obviously, you know, the introduction of these babies, right? Which is huge because it changed the game and accelerated the game again. So we got Rare Candy, we got card draw with Sylveon. This set gave us the babies, a lot of them being ramp, and really changed things up. It made the Flareon much better. It made some other fire options a little bit better. It made Ho-Oh a lot better, of course, as well. So yeah, Fire got a decent buff here with the Magby. Water, I think this was a miss again, right? From what I can recall. Yes, Water got kind of nothing. The Gyarados is cool, but not good enough. Politoed is rough. I think Politoed being good would have to give us a separate version of Poliwag and Poliwhirl. So you can have those and Poliwrath. But yeah, Feraligatr got done dirty, which is becoming common. And yeah, none of the Water cards did much, even though I really like Swanna's design. It just wasn't good. Electric, of course, got Pichu. I think any type that got a ramp baby in this set was doing well. The rest of the electric cards didn't really do too much except for Raikou, which was used or is used sometimes to beat an Oricorio because it deals 70. But mainly Pichu helping electric out is massive for certain decks. Psychic, of course, again got some stuff. The biggest thing Psychic got here was Espeon, which created the meta deck of Sylveon EX, Espeon EX with the Evolutions, which was, and I think still is, kind of just good. It's not maybe as good right now because of the nature of having to fill your bench against the Suicune, but yeah, Espeon and Sylveon, really strong deck, and kind of an interesting deck as well. You really had to manage resources because it got punished a lot when it went first. Ground or fighting, whatever, got a Donphan, which is a really cool card, and Tyrogue, which for those of you who watched me when this set came out, I have or had full faith in Tyrogue. I was jamming that card so much. It was beating up Eevees, it was helping out with like these early quick lethals in certain matchups. I played it with Darkrai as well to start dealing 40 damage super quick. It was really fun, so I thought this was okay for fighting. Dark got Umbreon. Probably the biggest miss, one of the biggest misses of the game, because Umbreon, the idea of it's cool, but 2 Dark Energy with 2 Retreat, not like extra HP, not to be like, it wasn't that tanky. And I think it should have probably had like 160 HP or something, maybe 150. Umbreon just too hard to get going, especially when you have to pair it up against something like, do you bring an Umbreon or do you just bring Darkrai, right? And it's probably just stronger. However, Crobat, everyone thought was gonna be busted, and it didn't really end up being busted, which makes me happy because if it was strong, it would have been too strong. But yeah, Crobat, it's okay. Tyranitar, though, I very much enjoyed. I played a lot of Tyranitar. Skarmory, Scizor in there as well. And then, of course, we had Lugia, which for me, Ho-Oh Lugia was never the best deck. It was fun, more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought they were too boring, but the way you get to it and the way you manage that deck is kind of fun. And then we got Elemental Switch, one of the best cards in the game right now. And then, you know, Lyra pretty good, Will pretty fun, Silver pretty good as well. So for me, this set was a joyous recovery from the Eevee set previously. So this, I'm going to rate pretty high, honestly. Wisdom of Sky and Sea, for me, sits in that A tier, because it was a great recovery after myself at least not having great time in Eeveelutions, or Eevee Grove, sorry. And Wisdom of Sky and Sea gave us a lot of options. The babies were there, you had some cool ramp options, and it felt like the meta was very wide and you could play a lot of things. And next up, we have what is the current expansion at time of recording, which is Secluded Springs. Now, here we are in Secluded Springs right now, and this is probably the expansion that's hurt me the most, I'll be honest, because cards like Celebi, like Jumpluff, I'll say arguably the dogs, Entei and Raikou, let's say. There's a Poliwrath EX in here, Slowking's awesome, Milotic's cool, like I like on evolve effects. Water finally got something good with Mantike. Electric got Raikou, which is a good card, obviously drawing the cards per turn. Psychic got Miss Magius and Cursola, and even the Latias, they're not very good, but they got them, right? There was just so many really cool cards in this set. Zoroark as well, on paper should be busted, and it's not, and we'll get to why in a minute. Altaria is fun. Some more babies in here as well. We got Miltank, which was hilarious on day 1 and 2, and then obviously fell off. Some really cool items with Inflatable Boat, Memory Light, Traveling Merchant, I think super fun as well. Like, some really interesting and cool cards across multiple types. And then we got the Suicune, which ruined everything. Suicune, far too strong, does far too many things, good health, draws cards like the other dogs do, but because it's water, has access to some very good heals. It has access to ramp if it wants it with Mantike. It draws cards and it does good damage. And if it's not doing good damage, it's because your opponent hasn't put cards on their bench. And if they've not put Pokemon on their bench, then that's also a strong factor, because then they can't dump their hand, which then means cards like Mars and Red Card get stronger in this deck. And the current list of like Suicune, Giratina, and Greninja is horrendous, because then Greninja gets buffed, because you're drawing cards faster, which gets you to Rare Candy and the Greninja faster, and it all just merges and clumps together to make a really oppressive deck, honestly. And I'm sure there's people in the comments or people watching, oh, well, this counters it and this counters it. Not well enough, right? So for me, Suicune is a disaster in this set, and the set has so many cool cards. You can't play any of them. Like, if you want to play Miss Magius, you can't because it's only 100 HP and you need more stuff on the bench. But if you've got more stuff on the bench, Suicune's stronger whilst drawing cards and you're not drawing cards. So just all this stuff is difficult. Jump Pluff, I had fun with Jump Pluff on ladder. How Celebi is not a card that's playable, maybe because it's Grass's fault, but it's not playable is crazy. But it's because, guess what? It's got 70 HP. Greninja will just hit it, Cyrus it, it's gone, doesn't matter. So this set, if you block out Suicune, should have been fantastic. But I think just the inclusion of Suicune and how much it's wrecked the meta, at least for me, and how dominant it is by far, is really taking the edge off here. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but I think Secluded Springs is not going to rate highly for me. It is, in fact, going to join the other two. You know what? Okay. I'm actually going to do a last minute change. Celestial Guardians can go to C, because Celestial Guardians was not, even with Silvally, which I really don't like, is not to the level of these two for me. Because Sylveon, and I said Silvally again, Sylveon and the current Suicune situation is just so much worse, right? So yeah, I'm going to put it there. And yeah, that's going to be it, guys. That is my tier list of all the expansions plus base set, obviously. And yeah, I think I'm happy with it. I think this shows not only the strength of the expansions or how many playable cards there are, but how fun the cards were, how fun the meta was, or the metas were at the time, and the impact the expansions made, good or bad, I guess. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Where have I gone wrong? Where have I gone right? What would you put in S tier? And are all my opinions wrong? Probably. Let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys next time.